Good morning, all you Midwestern mages. My name is Broderick Hanson. Love to welcome you back to the Minnesota's Magic Podcast Show. Joining me, as always, are my two co-hosts. We got Battle Cruiser Blake himself sitting in for us today,
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
and we have the Elvish Champion joining us once again, Zach.
Hey, crowd. Good to see you again.
Why does it sound like you're talking out of a coffee cup?
Well, my phone is in a coffee cup.
Explains everything. Do you take it with sugar or just straight black?
A little sugar doesn't hurt.
Alrighty. So, today we are going to be discussing discussing. All right. It's went to bed at 4:30. All right, it's 10 o'clock. Let's do this.
All right, sorry. Go ahead.
I will be disgusting whenever I'd feel like. What are we talking about? Is Commander becoming just a wee bit too casual? Or do you feel like you get in a group sometimes, just some random people, and you bring up what you feel is a low-powered deck? And let's say you're an Esper, right? Those three colors, I think, fit perfectly in this analogy. You walk up with your Esper deck, and some of the powerful cards in there happen to be Rhystic Study, because you need your draw power, Smothering Tides, because you're not in green, and you kind of need the ramp, and the treasures help out a lot. And Phyrexian Arena, because that consistent draw is just good. Like, you have redundancy in that deck to draw and get to your stuff. And you get flack for it, or people say, oh, that's unfair, or oh, that's just, your deck's too powerful. That's not group cohesion. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about, like, certain things in Commander that don't seem casual, or people view as not being casual. And I feel like people want the format to be skewed more towards like overly casual. And now I'm a
Yeah,
kind of guy who just like to sit there and play a Dirtle deck. I have 3 of them sitting right behind me, and they're all in Sultai, all right?
yeah. I
No,
think it's kind of just talking. We want to talk about maybe like to sum it up, like the state of the format in a way. Kind
yes.
of talk about what our feelings are, and we can talk about like the Rule Zero conversation and stuff like that, and
Oh, Rule
Rule
Zero
Zero
please.
slash pregame conversations, since those are technically two
Yeah.
different things. But just kind of discussing what our views on the format are, I think,
Yeah. Well,
is a good way to sum it up.
yeah. Speaking of Rule Zero, I don't think I've ever sit down once at a table and seen somebody be like, yeah, this is my Rule Zero thing here. This deck might be a little strong. I've never seen anybody do that. Now, with our play group, we all know what we're playing, and we don't really give a crap. But
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty trusted play group, and I think that's the difference is
yeah,
trusted play group versus out in the wild.
yeah,
And I know at least when I am playing like on Discord with randoms or out like at the game shop and just with other people, I kind of am. I feel like I'm the one who kind of just like starts the conversation of just being like, hey, like what kind of game are you guys playing? And
yeah,
it's not necessarily like I am Battle Cruiser Blake. I tend to play pretty mid-powered stuff. And my lower powered stuff gets powered up by some powerful cards, and people might think that those make my deck unfair, but then when you see the rest of it play out, you're like, oh, okay, I guess it's not that bad.
like he's playing mono white bandit, he's playing some obscure white commander, and you see Smothering Tithe, then you see all these other cards, and people are like, oh nope, he's just an unfair white deck. And then you see like 40 banding cards come out, and then you realize
Yeah, turn 1 I
what the
play land tax, turn 2 I play uh
Smothering
no, not
some
no, 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 turn 1 land tax, turn 2 pikeman, and you're like, okay.
He likes to
um
draw the land.
yeah. And for those who don't know, Pikeman is a 1/1 with banding for 2 mana. It's really not like a powerful card. And people tend to just kind of they see land tax, they see Rhystic Study. In that deck, also in that mono white deck, I have a Jeweled Lotus, but it's because it's mono white. It needs a little bit of
yeah.
help. I don't have a Smothering Tithe in there. I would put one if I had one. Don't have one to put in there.
Double Masters just came out, and that Smothering Tide is about $15.
No, it's like 25 again.
Jeez, is stuff already starting to spike?
Yes.
It it dropped. Oh, it drops today. That's why. Makes sense. Or it dropped yesterday,
Um,
didn't it?
it dropped on yesterday. Was it? No,
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah,
I thought it was a
it
week
was
ago.
Friday, guys.
It was a week ago.
Oh,
It dropped.
wow, and stuff's already starting to spike. Good thing I'm not buying anything from that set.
Yeah, things didn't drop that much. But
Too
anyway,
bad.
but that's kind of what it like. There is ways to play powerful cards in a way that's not necessarily breaking the game, but um, that's not really what I mean. But just I think that's kind of like where people will see powerful cards and automatically think you're doing broken things and get upset, and it's like uh, there's this concept to the game of Commander where it's like either the people who are casual see powerful cards and get upset about seeing powerful cards, or the people who are the competitive players think the casuals are ruining it because they're not playing like as optimally as they can.
Yeah, and I think we fit in that middle of the ground where it's like I'm okay if you play an optimized deck, but at the same time too, I'm okay if you play a dirtle pile because that's a good chunk of my stuff and I still end up winning. But don't get upset with me for my deck choices, please. That's all I'm asking. If I play a if I go turn one Soul Ring into Mana Crypt into Vault into Signet and dump my entire hand and I have nothing in there and a bunch of mana rocks, don't be upset. I just dumped a bunch of mana rocks on turn one. I have no cards in hand and I'm essentially top decking because I have essentially all colorless mana.
Yeah, I mean, something like that is just like a nut start to a game, which can happen. Magic is a game of variance, and that's what can happen. I have a mono red, it's like a mono red storm deck with Rionia, I think her name is, where it's like at the beginning of combat, you get to make a copy of another target creature you control for each X plus one, where X is like the number of instants and sorceries you've cast this turn. And I've definitely had it where I have popped off, like turn one, Mountain, uh, Soul Ring into Simian Spirit Guide into like another mana rock and just being like, okay, here we go. We're going to go crazy. And I've had other games where like Zach and I were playing a game the other night where I have my dragon deck and my dragons can absolutely destroy people by turn 5 because I can get really cheap, really powerful dragons out, or I will do absolutely nothing and play only bounce lands and die before I even get the chance to cast one dragon.
Risk reward situation, gentlemen. So I think that's what we all here to think about is that the game can be fun or it can be, toxic, as a lot of people like to say. So I think it depends on the person who's building the deck and then also who they are going to be playing with as well and what is their power level. I think that's where things differentiate a lot for two play groups, and I think that's where it causes friction or bad stigma for the game.
Well, so Brody, you kind of were talking about how you think people are like too casual. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Right. So because I can't make it to the shop a whole lot because of my work schedule, I'll play on a lot of discords. I think I'm part of like 4 separate commander-esque discords. Some of them like range it into a full like here's the separate like play groups they're in, and then some are just like here's a high power discord, here's a low power discord, and I typically play in the one that's just every variant. So that I can get a, it's like, what do I feel like today? Oh, I feel like playing a Dirtle Fest, or oh, I feel like going fast and playing something big. But I'll jump into there. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. My roommate just walked in. Shush you. I can cut this out.
Leave it
But
in.
leave it in. But so I'll jump into like what's known as like a high powered. So like it's described as decks that are 7.5 and up. And in the description, it please says, rule 0, you got to talk what's in your deck so people know, because somebody could walk in with like, here's my uh Fire Song and Sunspeaker deck, combat deck. It goes against what the deck is. So you just want to cool Minotaurs as your commander. But you're walking into a deck, like a game where people are running like 9s and 10s, like semi CEDH decks. You walk in there, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Don't be like that. But we'll get in there, and it's like, okay, here's my, and this was the example I used, where I went into like Crypt, Playland, Crypt, Vault, Soul Ring, and this is with Kozilek, where I just played a bunch of my mana rocks. And I had a man leave because he says, dude, your deck's not cool at all. Your deck's not fun. That's way too overpowered. You're way too strong. To where I retorted, I'm a colorless deck that just played up my entire hand and have no draw power, sir. I am probably going to lose this game. But to him, that deck was not casual and too competitive in the competitive Discord.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I lean into the fact that people just, I think some people don't like Commander, but they play Commander because they think they need to.
Yeah. And
And oh,
I
go
think it's
ahead.
because it's more of a social experience, though, right? I think that's
yeah,
why people like Commander.
right. And I
Right.
get that too. Like we play it, we'll have events. We'll go to our houses, have a barbecue, have a good time. We'll go to the shop and relax because it's a long day. I get that. But I'm jumping into a high powered Discord here where I'm looking to win and stomp. I am looking for a high competitive game. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
This is
Well, that seems like that's just that guy's problem.
well, but I've seen it multiple times too, where like people will leave because somebody goes into they're playing a certain deck, like Corvald, and 3 turns in, Corvald's starting to do some Corvald things, but like there's no win con. He's looking, and it's like, well, the game's done, or he's just playing something that's broken. It's not. It's too overpowered. It's too broken, and he's just going to win. And it's like, yeah, you're free to leave. And here's the thing: I encourage where if somebody's popping off, or the game's over, like you see it writing on the wall and they're over. All right, yeah, talk to the group, say, hey, he has this, this, this. He's gonna win. All right, do we just want to scoop and do another one to get these going? Because let's face it, a lot of people they don't have a whole lot of free time to play Commander games. This is valuable time, so get as many as you can in. Get those reps, but don't sit there and watch it happen and complain and moan and groan. Especially you guys
Yeah,
who are in the high powered. Stop that.
so on your point, Brody, I do think that is the fun thing about Commander as well. So you get to learn what people's intentions are generally with their decks, and I think that allows everybody to understand, okay, he's this kind of player, so maybe I can tweak my deck this way or that way. So I think it is good in a sense as well that it pushes people to try different things and go down different avenues to get around certain things. So it keeps everybody thinking in the group, and everybody is always expanding and changing and switching to different things, and that's what makes the game fun, I think.
And I agree with that completely.
Yeah. I mean, and sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. We'll keep
Let's
that
face
in.
it, like Commander as itself, it's just one of those days, lads. Somebody played Thought Erasure. We've all been Thoughtseize.
Right.
But let's face it, like Commander in itself is a social experiment and a social event every time you're sitting down. Okay, maybe not a social experiment. That's not the correct word I was looking for, but we're going with it anyways.
No, I
Um,
liked it.
but it's a social gathering, and yes, this game was started for casuals. But like everything in life, Magic players were a competitive group of people. We're a competitive breed. And we love value, and we love popping off, and we love those big flashy plays. Commander embodies that. And you add a dash of competitive to that, because we're all competitive people. At the end of it, you want to win. and some people want that a little more, and some people just want to sit there and durdle around. I I think half the decks I bring to the table are testaments to that because I'll see you all three playing, and I'll be sitting there with 3 lands waiting to pop off, or hopefully waiting to lose because somebody eventually will put me out of my misery, or I'll end up winning.
Yeah, I mean,
But
Brody, the way you play, to
I
call
am
you out a
weak.
little bit, you tend to this is the way Brody plays. So either his deck does absolutely nothing, and we all like, or he does absolutely nothing, and we don't pay attention to him at all until all of a sudden he wins the game because he hits the one card he needed.
Yep.
Or he's like the biggest threat, and we have to just keep dealing with him over and over and over again, and then he gets upset that we deal with him.
Oh, well, yeah, because it's like straight out of the gate. It's like, all right, what deck's he playing that we've lost to? Oh shoot, he's playing Kozilek. Oh no, he's playing Prosh. Brody, we're sorry. We have to end you today.
Right.
Omae wa mo shinderu. And I yell naughty, and then I explode into a ball of flesh and gore.
Well, that just means Brody came to play an aggressive group of people, and well, he's gonna get it. Damn it!
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I feel like Brody and Zach are probably like the opposite of ways of playing because Brody is just trying to pop off as fast as possible while Zach is literally just trying to stop everyone from popping off until he can.
Zach's that meme of that dude in power armor putting the sign that says no fun down. That's Zach.
And then I'm over here just like, hey, look it, I'm gonna swing at you.
Every time I think of your playstyle, I just imagine a chibi version of you, Blake, with like a bunch of cats around you.
Nice.
Do we have to
Yeah.
find an artist to do just like chibi art versions of ourselves? Like there's Zach with like Abanatu and a nuclear explosion in the palm, like a mushroom explosion in the palm of his hands. There's Blake over there with his cats. I don't know. Put me with a bunch of overpowered jank behind me. Like there's Kaza like Prosh and Winota. And then there's what's his name? Dylan. That's the fool. Give him a book.
You know what's
Well,
funny
Brody,
is you always sorry Zach, but you always like loop me in with like my cat deck, which is my favorite deck, but I can't tell you the last time I played my cat deck.
No, I think the last time you played it was that time we were at Dylan's playing D&D about a year ago. I believe that was the last time I saw you. But like, you're the cat man, though. Whenever there's
True.
a cat in a set, whenever there's something feline related, you gotta bring it up.
Of course. I
Yeah.
did pick up that Quasali Pride Mage that looks like the cat's about to sneeze. And
Good.
put a foil full art version to put in my cat deck. But anyway.
But I think we should get into like some of the things that people like find unfair and stuff like that. Like people that will rustle their jimmies, if you will.
I'm curious. Yeah, I like that, and I'm curious to what your guys' thoughts are when those come down.
Right.
Like,
So,
so
as a disclaimer, these are our opinions, all right? You are free to believe whatever you want. Go right ahead. You do you. I'ma do me.
you want to go off the salt score on EDH?
The-
Or
no, because they have things like Phyrexians on there. Those things aren't that. Those are not that. I'll pull it up.
none of
I'm
us
not.
even use like Phyrexian anything, though. Is the thing?
You
I
shut your
do.
mouth. I try to put a Phyrexian in every deck. All right,
I put Infect in almost every deck.
that too. Now, just because I don't have like 100 different Phyrexians, all right, I've downsized. All right, I think I only have like 9 decks now.
So speaking of Phyrexian, since we're on that topic, then, well, okay, we've all played with Will, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I think we've all seen. I think we've probably all played his Phyrexian deck. That is ridiculous.
Yes, but Will builds very powerful decks.
Will builds decks to like be powerful right out the gate. He's not
But he
looking to
plays
build.
with such weird stuff, and I love it though. Like
Oh,
it's
Oh, it's
disgusting,
definitely.
but it's so weird.
Yeah. All right, so
It's
speaking of
every card is.
Phyrexians,
Oh, sorry. I just want to, with Will's deck, every card is meant to disrupt everyone. Like he doesn't like I play to further my game and like eventually be able to swing out or do just a bunch of damage in one turn. Whereas Will is like, I am gonna slow everyone to a stop and lock out everything until I can just absolutely destroy.
Well, lads, I have good news. I have good news and bad news. The good news is, Vorinclex, my boy, is a $10 card now, and I could not be happier. I'm going to buy a foil of him because anything with a Phyrexian logo and shine, I gotta get. But the bad news is he is the fourth saltiest card on this list. He ranges in as a 2.5. And let's go. I think we should start off with him since we're talking about our Lord and Savior of Phyrexians. How do you feel about them? Well, how do you feel about them? So I want to start off here because I'm already rambling. I come from a card fight Vanguard background. I haven't been playing Magic since I was a kid. I've only been playing since Theros Beyond Death. And in that game, there was a deck called Link Joker, which basically, imagine if people were doing what Vorinclex does, locking your lands. You have to wait an entire turn, next turn rotation, to do stuff. Now imagine that with stripping cards out of your hand as well. Like if Vorinclex took cards out of your hand and blew up stuff on your field.
Brody, I like where you're going with this conversation. Actually, so I think where you're coming from is we all play Magic in a different way, and it's based on background. So I like that idea. Um, I would agree with it because I guess my deck. So I have an army background, as you guys know,
Yep.
and it's basically an emergency management, is what it comes down to.
Oh my god, this
So I
explains you
noticed when
so well.
everybody is getting away a little too far ahead of themselves, trying to pull off the win, I have
This
to come in there and put on the brakes for you because we have a runaway truck.
Holy
Explains so
crap, this
much.
explains everything. Oh my god.
Okay. Well, then I'm gonna go with my background. So before we get into like specifics again, because I know you started with a specific, but now we're talking about backgrounds. I am a sports guy. I played sports all the way through from like kindergarten until like 11th grade. And football was my favorite. And football is just going forward. There's a lot of strategy, but I feel like
Dude, when
in
you're
my
on the line,
opinion,
you don't need to think. You just go, go, go.
well, in my opinion, of like the concept of football, it's trying to design a game plan to basically get around the other team. And so that's kind of how I build with like my attacking decks is like every deck that I have is pretty much designed to kill someone through attacking and with creatures. And so I feel like that has kind of a good concept of like leaning back with sports where it's just like there's strategy involved, but it's like who has more points at the end of the game. And that's kind of what I'm doing is who has less life. How can I make people have less life?
How can I make them more dead
Yeah,
faster?
exactly.
I will deaderize you, and you can't stop me. But
Exactly.
yeah, but coming back to that, so like with me, with Phyrexians, so that deck, it was nobody liked playing it. It wasn't like top tier until the end of its life, and then they killed it because they killed it. They did a reset. They canonically reset the game, so that deck no longer existed. And that's when it was most broken. But I loved playing that deck because it stripped away resources. It made the game more challenging for me. It put me in a state of mind where it's like, how the heck can I win against this deck? And I loved playing against it. And I owned that deck as well, and it was like my favorite deck. But I see the Phyrexians, and I get those little glimpses of Link Joker, and I think they are fine. And I know this is going to upset some people, but I think they're balanced. All right, it like you're putting a lot of mana into some of these guys. Like Vorinclex, okay, yeah, he's mono green. You're in green. You'll get this thing out fast because it's green, and that's what they do. They play big stompy things. He's an 8-drop, and he doubles your mana. But then you get something like Jingataxius, who is mono blue and is 10 mana. And if you play a 10 mana creature, yeah, it should do something devastating. It's not going to like just sit there. Here's the thing, it doesn't end the game, which yeah, people don't like, but it's a huge value engine. You see people play like I've seen people get angrier at playing Urza than Jingataxius because Urza will straight up win the game. But people get. I know I'm kind of just digging myself into a hole here why people hate this, because yeah, Jinky Taxi is the end of the game, but at that point too, I'm playing a 10-mana spell, and it's a creature. It can be removed easier, and people need to play more removal if they get salty about creatures.
See, I'm gonna go on like I hate that argument of like just need to play more removal because it's like, in my opinion, like if you want to have an interactive deck, then that's how I think you should build it. But I don't play a lot of removal in a lot of my decks, and I tend to be an issue, um, because I am just advancing my board state more. And it's like if I have a Vorinclex, I'll put them out there, deal with it. I don't care. Like if someone else does it, I'm getting to the point in my Magic career where I'm just like, oh man, that kind of sucks. That's gonna make it a little bit harder, but okay, they're advancing their board state. Like we're getting to the end of the game. We're not sitting here dirtling. If someone else has an issue with it, they'll deal with it. But I'm just gonna do what I can to like advance my board state and keep moving forward and deal
Right.
with it as I can. And I don't love the argument of like just everyone needs to play more removal and stop being so upset about it. But it's like then we're getting to the point where everyone has so much removal in their deck that there's nothing else going on except these long dirtily games of just removing this and then removing that and then removing this, and then everyone thinks it's competitive because you're stopping everyone from being able to do anything and not advancing their own board state. It's kind of like we were talking before, and like that's where it's like that double-edged sword where it's like
Yeah.
you're getting more competitive because people are playing threats and you like need to build in a way that's going to deal with those threats, but or you can just play it in the way that like whatever's fun. If you have fun playing a Staxy removal, like I know Zach you do because you have like 7 board wipes in your deck.
That's an
Or
understatement. Half of his deck is at least board wipes. The other half is trying to get back those board wipes by blinking shit repeatedly.
Again, guys, it stems from the emergency management thing.
Yeah.
If you guys would like, I could definitely change it up, and
No, Zach,
we
I
can
need you to
change
do
the
me a huge
style, and we
favor
can see
and
what
never
happens.
change that. Never change that deck. Never. You keep that beautiful thing the way it is, all right?
The only thing I've ever told you to take out of there was Winter Orb because you had Winter Orb doing nothing except also stopping yourself.
Yeah, I actually hated that card.
It was the same thing where it was like this is actually like hurting you as well as hurting everyone else and making the game not, in my opinion, not fun, as well as like how Dylan had Teferi's puzzle box in like
Mono blue deck.
the Baron deck, and it was actually hurting your plan. This isn't helping anyone. You're just causing issues for everyone else.
Shooting yourself in
And
the
yourself.
foot.
Yeah.
You're trying to shoot me by shooting yourself through the chest and then
Right.
hoping the bullet hits me.
So like I enjoy playing with Zach because I know exactly what his deck is gonna do, and it's almost like I don't love stacks. I know some people like playing against stacks in a way, to like solve that puzzle, which that's kind of the joy I get from playing against Zach because Zach is
Zach's
I
all the
feel
stats
like
we need.
he's like the legit opposite of how I'm building, and he's like we're each I don't know, like we're like complete rivals. I feel like in our deck building styles. I don't know if you would agree with that, Zach, but I feel like I'm trying to get 1,000 creatures out there. You're trying to play defense and not have 1,000 creatures out there.
I'm trying to kill your thousands of
I would
creatures.
not disagree, Blake.
I think that's what makes our games fun and dynamic because it's like, am I going to be able to swing out, or are you going to cast darkness on me and then blow me out the next turn?
It's because it's fun because it's competing interests.
And I
It's
love
the
that
US
I can,
versus the Soviet Union.
and it's fun to try and we have fun trying to tilt each other with around Sensei's Divining Top because it's his favorite card in the deck, and I love countering it.
I love Sensei's Top.
You're a monster for that, by the way.
I will mana drain that just because.
I agree. The best thing is trying to get rid of his top. As he sits there and struggles like It's like, all right, I'm gonna go fetch. In response, I'm gonna blow up your top, and you're sitting and he's standing there. It's like, I could save it, but it'll be gone.
um, but I actually I kind of came up with like a point from off of my own thought there. But how do you guys feel about counter spells? Do you think counter spells count as competitive like play
No,
or
no,
like
so like me in Commander, I think counter spells are a necessary thing because you'll be that guy and like I enjoy them. I like them in Commander. I think they're fine. They're that quote unquote necessary evil for the game to function because they're gonna be that thing that'll save you like turn 3 when somebody's trying to like hyper or the guy who sits at the table and says, "Ah yes, this is my mid power deck," smirks, plays down CEDH and goes off turn 3. Now it's a hyper example right there. But I like them. I enjoy them because unless you're going against that guy who's just loading up full of counter spells, which sometimes that's fun to play against, but I think that uh, they are just a good component of the deck. They're like removal or creatures or anything like that. It's kind of like making that perfect dish where you need a little bit of everything to make the game kind of just run smoothly and be a good time for everybody. Like you countering the top, that's a good time. That's a fun time. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it is pretty funny, honestly. Like,
funny for us, but I also feel like in that situation, if I was in like a game like playing with randoms and I countered a top, like as much as I know is like it's just stopping them from getting value, I feel like that's a bad counter spell to do. Like the only time I run maybe like one or two counter spells. I've put more in Orvar lately because you guys keep killing Orvar, so I need to protect Orvar so I can protect my game plan. But that's exactly what I feel like that's the only reason I use counter spells. I don't counter to stop other people from like just doing advancing their board state, but it's more of stopping people from winning the game or stopping people from stopping me from winning the game.
yeah,
Does that make sense? Like is that I feel like that's the proper way in my opinion to use counter spells. And
yeah,
like I don't get salty when someone counters my spell because usually for the most part when I'm casting a spell it's going to be something that advances my board state because that's pretty much how I build my decks completely and I don't work on stopping anyone else or like I don't try to create unfun board states in my opinion. Like every time I've done that in a deck, I think that's where like definitely my casual side comes in is in my deck building because I don't put things that I don't think are going to help the deck. Or
yeah,
like I don't put Smothering Tithe on a lot of things because as much as I know it's a good card, um it doesn't really do much to help my deck except accelerate the game faster. I would rather instead of playing a Smothering Tithe or a Ristic Study, I would rather play something that's more on theme with how my deck is supposed to perform than like finding something that's gonna make it just that much stronger. Like I have my Dockside. I have not put my Dockside. The only Dockside or like the only deck I've ever put really Dockside in was my Goblin Tribal deck because that's the only reason it was in there. Otherwise, it just sits in my binder, and I'm just like, I'll find a deck one day to put it in, and like I don't know. I feel like that's where the casual versus competitive needs to happen because I play my decks to the fullest every single time we play, and I'm going to play it in a way that's going to try and kill you as fast as possible. But it's going to be hard for me because I don't have fast mana to accelerate my game plan except a Soul Ring.
yeah. And I think, yeah, you make a good point. And I think leading off that, we should get into like the next part of this, which is fast mana. And I'm gonna say this. So I play Commander. I play two singleton formats. I play Canadian Highlander, which is CEDH on crack. Is the best way I can describe it, except with no commander. and it's 1v1. Um, and I play these formats to play powerful Magic. Now, you could say, "Oh, you can play Modern to do that." Yeah, but I'm still gonna lose to Living End, and I don't want to drop like $1,000+ on a deck that uh it will most likely lose by turn 2. And Commander, I can get a little bit more time, and it's a little bit more fun constructing that deck. And it also gives me a wider pool of cards to play, and I can still do powerful Magic things. And I believe in Commander that fast mana is one of those essential things that this format that Commander needs. Like I always hear the conversation like, "Oh, we should ban Mana Crypt. Oh, we should ban Soul Ring. We should ban Vault." To where, okay, yeah, I think Soul Ring's the most quote unquote broken of that because it's free. It doesn't like Mana Vault will hurt you. Mana Crypt can hurt you. It has that sort of like cost to it. Soul Ring doesn't. But I also think that like having that fast mana is kind of like you're looking to win, right? And if you're looking to win, you're going to play Soul Ring because it's just a good card. It's powerful Magic. I want to play powerful Magic. Ergo, I'm going to play this powerful stuff. Also, I feel like some people look at Soul Ring like, ah, yes, it's the poster child of Commander. Therefore, I don't get mad at it. But the minute you play a Mana Crypt, you get arrows shot into the back of your skull.
I feel like the same thing with Sol Ring though. Like people don't get as salty when you see it because you're not necessarily because Mana Crypt is such a high price that people
Yeah.
see that and they're like, "Oh, you must be like buying your wins," which I don't agree with. But with Soul Ring, because it's so easily available to everyone, people don't necessarily get as salty about it. But I also feel like when someone plays, if you get that turn 1 Soul Ring, like yes, you shoot ahead, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like the game is over at that point. Like you shouldn't get salty at that because there's still a lot of game to be played, and I mean someone could destroy it the first turn. They can just uh I know there's a 1 white mana spell that or like a shatter or something like that that can just destroy that right away.
Oh yeah, that's the thing too. So, I Zach, you want to weigh in on this? What are your opinions?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think what I hear Blake saying is Wizards of the Coast give the people what they want. Mana crypts, print
Put Mana
them.
Crypt in
Let's
every
go.
Commander deck now. Let's go.
I mean,
Take that price.
honestly, if they like made it more easily available, maybe it would start to like
It would have that
see.
effect like how Soul Ring, where people it's like, oh, it's just Soul Ring. And there's still people who think Soul Ring is it. It is busted. It's a broken card,
Oh, for
but
sure.
it's that what's that effect where like you're so like you see so much violence nowadays that when you see a man running through the streets naked gunning people down that it has no effect on you. Uh uh
Numb to it.
Desensitized.
Oh, desensitized.
Yeah, we've become so desensitized to Soul Ring that a lot of people are just like, "Oh, this is a cool card." To where it's like that thing warped formats. That thing is inherently evil. That's the ring of I see the Eye of Sauron in that thing right there.
So people can take it for what it is, but I think now that I'm kind of like getting the picture, I think Wizards is actually attempting to start bringing some higher end stuff to an easier level to obtain. So I think that's what their idea was behind printing a lot of these cards that have had no reprints since the first printing. And I think they are expanding the game to make a lot of these cards more accessible. So I think it is giving a lot of new players the opportunity to get into some of those higher end cards that were less obtainable prior.
Yeah.
Even so, like, yeah, they did print a lot of like good cards, but you can also just proxy, and most people who want to play a competitive game don't care if you proxy.
Oh
Like
yeah, no,
legacy
100%.
players and CEDH players and vintage players and all that stuff, like
Even in
they want to play their
Highlander too.
format. Sure, yeah, in Highlander because Black Lotus is legal in
Everything is
Highlander.
anything that
Everything
doesn't
is, yeah.
like if it doesn't involve you flipping a card like a coin, it's legal. It's legal in Highlander.
Sure. So it's like people are okay with you proxying those decks, and I think for the most part, there are some people that like I do not proxy cards at all, but I also don't care to play with a mana crypt unless I had one. I don't care to play with. I have one high end card, and the only reason I play with it is because it's transmute artifact and it fits in my artifact deck very well. Otherwise, I would not go out of my way to necessarily like find that card or a Gaia's Cradle or anything like that or Sarah Sanctum. I have decks that would absolutely love to have those, but it's not necessarily like it's not going to help my deck that much more than if I were to put in like a random card like Psychic Possession. Like which I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but it's a 2 and 2
It's a
blue
tube.
enchantment. It's a tube. It's a 2 and 2 blue enchantment that says you skip your draw step, you choose a player. Whenever that player draws, you draw. So it's just like it will enchant Zach with it because he's playing Amunatu and he's drawing every turn like multiple times. I'm drawing multiple times every turn, and like people don't think that card is broken because it's like more expensive, but like as far as mana cost. But if I were to play a Gaia's Cradle, which is $1,000, and put it in one of my creature decks, but then I get board wiped, now my Gaia's Cradle does nothing.
It's a land that doesn't even tap.
Right.
Yep.
It's
I disagree, Blake, that imitation is flattery.
well, that's why I built the quote unquote sliver deck, because there are like maybe
No, you got tired of going against my slivers, and so it's like, you know what? If you can't beat them, join them.
oh, it's not slivers. I don't know
I
if
know
you've
it's
played
not.
against
No, I have played against it. I know it's not. I saw them like, oh, we're gonna have a fun time. No, you just stole all of my effects.
Yeah,
You sat there laughing at me.
it's the 5-finger discount deck, and it was hilarious when I played it against Zach too, because Zach's never played against his Amunatu deck, and so when he was playing against it, he was like, "Oh man, this is actually really hard to play again."
You could interpret that deck of like, you made this deck. I made this
Exactly.
deck.
Like my deck is only as good as your deck.
And I feel proud, by the way. Double Masters 2, guess who the poster child is?
It's your
Amunatu.
girl. It's your
But
daughter.
they didn't give it
Give
an
her.
alternate art, which is sad.
No.
Beyond
Because
all belief.
Liliana needed that.
I was shocked too.
Like the Liliana of the Veil needed that. Not the Veil. Which the Liliana that isn't the Veil.
The last hope.
The last hope. That's right. Because there is no hope in this non-lasting. I hate Double Master. I can't afford anything. That's why I hate it. It's that thing. I've become one of them.
Well, you couldn't afford it before then either.
No, I couldn't afford it to begin with.
You couldn't afford any of the cards, and now they've dropped a little bit, and you still can't.
No, they dropped a little bit, and now they're spiking again. After 1 week, they're starting to go up. Because I was curious.
Like I said, guys, 60 days. That's the magic time to pick them up.
Yeah. All
Anyway,
I want is
no more Double Masters. We're not talking about Double
Did
Masters.
you just spend $3,000, by the way, on a computer?
No, I'm going to. I have to. I don't even have the money yet. I gotta save up. I have to pay off my credit cards first. All right.
No
so
wonder you can't afford Magic. God dang.
I know, right? So I think we will get on to the last two things. Let's put them together, which are extra turns and like straightforward wins. So like I think we should just hit extra turns fast. Like extra turns are kind of like just dirtily spells. Like a lot of times they're just expensive ramp spells or extra combats is what I usually see them as, or finishers like my Zafai deck where I keep blinking back like the extra turn spell that doesn't exile and stuff with I have a convoluted combo where I just keep bouncing back extra turn spells and pinging everybody down and winning that way. I think extra turn spells are fine. I don't see them a whole lot, and I think the reason people don't like them is because usually the people who play them are decks that like dirtle and they want to just keep dirtling, and so they play an extra turn spell to keep their value and combos going, but don't necessarily result in ending the game. Like
unless you're me.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what my point was going to be for like in Zach's defense, your win con in Aminatu is extra turns.
Yes.
Like
Two,
you
infinite combat.
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like your plan is to take extra turns and then kill people on those extra turns, which is fine. The only issue I ever have with like extra turns is kind of what we were talking about earlier, where it's like we don't have a lot of time to play commander. I don't necessarily love the fact that like if someone's going to take an extra turn and not know what they're doing. Like I had uh an extra turns kind of deck where it was the Sphinx that I can't think of what its name is, but
Argent.
what no, it's the blue white one. When it deals combat damage, you
Oh.
get an extra turn.
Yeah. No, I think that is Argent.
No, it doesn't matter. But
EDH Wreck of the Lake. What says you? It says I'll never be successful and no woman will ever love me. That's harsh but true.
pull it up. It's right here. Stand by,
Well,
everyone.
while this
Aha, it's
intermission is going
Midomana.
on,
Midu Mana? Mia? Mado Amaya. Medomaya. There we go. I figured it. Medomaya.
Oh,
Ageless.
Medomai. Yeah, Medomai the Ageless. Sorry. Anyway, so Medomai, it's just when it deals combat damage, you get to take an extra turn, and it can't attack on extra turns or something like that. But
Yeah.
there's ways around it.
Yeah.
But either way, like when I was playing with that card, like when I was ready to take my extra turn, it was either because I wanted just an extra draw, or I was like I knew exactly what I was going to be playing.
Yeah.
And I think that's like this is kind of like a tangent, but like my issue with extra turns and like tutors as well. It's like if you're gonna play a deck full of tutors or like just have a lot of tutors, it's like just know what you're tutoring for. Don't play this game where it's like, I gotta search, and it's like, maybe I should get this, maybe I should get that. And sometimes I do that, like when I don't play a lot of tutor effects, and I've had decks where it's like surrounded by like Zur the Enchanter, and I got bored of them because I got sick of searching for the same thing.
No, you got sick because you sat there for an entire game and didn't get to play anything, and so we just let you search for basic land.
Well, that did suck. That was annoying, but also I got tired of playing the deck because it was like, okay, I'm gonna attack with Zur, I'm gonna get my Ghostly Prison. All right, I'm gonna attack with Zur, I'm gonna get my Propaganda. All right, I'm gonna attack with Zur, and now I'm gonna get the one that copies it. And so it's like I'm pillow forted. Now I am going to search for the things that mill because it was a mill Zur deck.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like it got boring. It got boring
it
very
takes a lot
quickly.
of time too, right?
What?
It takes a lot of time, so I think it takes away from like the approach of the game.
Exactly. I enjoy Commander for the variance of what I'm gonna draw. Like if I want consistency, that's when I play Modern, or that's when I'll play like a standard deck on Arena or something like that, where it's like
You'll play an actual constructed format that isn't Commander.
right, like that deck has a plan and it's gonna execute that one plan. Where it's like in my version of Commander, I like to just like I have an idea of what I want to do, and hopefully I draw the cards that help me do it. But regardless, that's kind of my issue with extra turns is like if someone's taking an extra turn, they haven't planned out what they're doing, and they're just kind of like, oh man, this is I could do this or I could do that, or it's like just go into it knowing what you're gonna do. Like if you play an expropriate or you play whatever extra turn spell, just like know what your next turn is and let's get through it, because the worst thing about Commander in my opinion is when games drag on for like 3 hours. An hour and a half is usually my sweet spot. But like I've had
Yeah.
games where it's like 3-4 hours and it's like, oh my gosh, it's because this
Zach's
person
at the
is
table.
well, it's not even Zach's fault.
No,
It's
it's
just
not.
it's like someone's just tutoring for the board wipe to keep the game going. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why? You're not advancing anyone's board state here. You're not advancing your own.
That
Like,
person wants to win.
like if you're gonna tutor, go tutor for your combo. Like our one friend who plays Narset and Corvold and uh Kenrith and whatnot. It's like, okay, just go tutor for the thing you do to
Hey
beat us
now.
so we can just
Hey.
lose.
Hey, you leave him out of this. He's a swell guy. All right.
I'm not saying his name.
If we ever want to play arch enemy, he's the guy I call up. All right. He just inherently
Hey,
does that.
speaking of funny guys that I was thinking about, you guys remember playing against Chinu?
Yes.
Oh my god, it's so funny because like Chinu would get like all excited about what he's gonna do, like he gets overly into what he's gonna do, and then he like forgets how he wins.
Yeah. Or he doesn't put the win con in, or it's like,
Yeah.
you just spent like a good 30 minutes searching for
You've
your
wasted
deck,
our
your
time
deck
and you
to
can't
find
even
something,
win.
and you
All
can't win.
right.
I always
See,
thought that was hilarious because then he just is like, "Oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing. I quit."
He did that once.
Chinu, you've wasted my time for an hour and a half, and you don't
Yeah.
have a win con. I know you're not a threat, and I know you can't do anything, but I'm killing you right now, and it might cost me the game. But this is to show you you need to learn this lesson.
He had a planeswalker or a super friends deck, and he had omniscience and like his deck in his
Couldn't do
hand, and
anything.
I was like, okay, how do you win? He's like, I don't know.
I was
It's like
hoping everybody was gonna concede before you figured that out.
I'm just like, I'm gonna play it out, see how you win, and then he's like, okay, I scoop, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, that's how I win. He forgot.
Yeah, no. He'll be back one day. But yeah,
Oh
I
god,
think
he's so fun to play with, though.
I think
I know, I
Chinu's the
miss that guy.
perfect catalyst to jump into this last point, which are uh tend to see people would prefer if somebody played out a 14 card janky combo than instead going for a straightforward win of like playing a Craterhoof Behemoth or dumping like 15 mana into a Finale of Devastation into a Craterhoof Behemoth. I feel like people get more salty when you win in like the fewest cards possible. Uh extended to like if you like play like 14 cards and these all work together to form this machine. Those are impressive. But those are those kind of games where they go on for 3 hours. And I've noticed that those kinds of people get salty when you play like Ristic Study 2. The let me form my 14 card combo in this chair tribal deck.
Well, I want to hear Zach's opinion on this.
Well, I mean, I- that's the thing. I'm always going to be kind of the devil's advocate here. I think a lot of people are going to choose to make the deck the way they want to play it and they want to see it. Not necessarily everybody's going to agree with their play style or what they're doing, and that's perfectly fine. If somebody wants to do the thing that they want to do, like Blake loves to do his little niche deals to get his wins, and we love that. But it's not necessarily for everybody. There's always going to be somebody that's not going to enjoy what they're doing because it's too slow, it's too quick, it takes too long, it's too mean, whatever the case may be. Everybody's going to be objective and have their opinion towards their own decks and how they play it. I mean, does anybody disagree?
No, I mean every win con, like someone's gonna have probably an issue with the way you win. Like
Yeah. You're winning.
it's like, okay, but and winning isn't mean. Like games need to end, which is again why I don't like the 3-hour games. Like I have a Crater Hoof in my Ginny Fey deck, and because I want to have just a bunch of 2/2
You
cats
need
and
a
3/1
win con.
dogs, and it's like I can win with that, or I can just play the Creator Hoof. We can shuffle up and play another one, and like move on. And I'll be honest, like I don't love when I have my Crater Hoof win. I would rather win with a Storm Herd and then attack with 42 cats. But the Crater Hoof is there to end the game when like I have the opportunity to. Like I said, I'm gonna play. I want to play a game to its fullest. I want to be able to do it, but I'm gonna build it in a way that I'm gonna be satisfied with that win. I do not like Torment to Hailfire. I think it's a boring win. I think it's like when someone does it, you can see the writing on the wall, but I also don't get salty with it. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, that happened. I guess we'll shuffle up and play another one. Like, Brody, I like when you play the snake deck. I'm like, It's we get to draw cards, but like we can see what you're doing. We can see that you have a
But you're,
thousand snakes on the
that's a
battlefield.
devil's advocate. It's like, all right, he's letting me draw 6 cards a turn, but he's also generating 24 snakes a turn rotation.
Right.
Uh, well,
It's like
yeah,
I see it coming, but I also don't. There's not. If you were to just make 1,000 snakes and then like I don't know if you have a crater hoof in there, but or like an overrun or a crater hoof, I'd be like, okay, like that was a
I
legit
saw this
win.
coming a mile away.
Yeah, like I know what's happening. I know what's gonna happen, but I don't like it. And this is why I think like something like coalition victory can stay banned.
No,
I don't
unban
like
that.
it,
Unban it, please. I
but
want to crush somebody's dream of them be like, I win, and you strip mine one of their lands.
I mean that's fine. But like, would it really be like satisfactory when you cast create a coalition victory and you just win the game? Like, would you really be like, oh man, I'm so glad we did that. I'm so glad we played out this game. When it's like, at least do something like the 14 card combo, like whatever. It if it happens, it happens. But I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm contradicting myself a little bit here. Um, but it's just like I just want an interesting game. I
Yeah.
don't I don't love it when it's just like you get a dockside loop. It's like do something that's kind of maybe somewhat unique to what your deck is trying to do to win the game. Is kind of like what I think makes a good win con. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a unique win, but like if you're gonna play tokens, put a crater hoof in there if you have one, or put an
Put
overrun. Like
play
do
some sort
that
of
thing.
accelerant win con, please. Do
Yeah,
not
but
sit there for an hour and a half building your army and then you slowly chip away. Like, and that's fine too. That's a strategy of Token Deck is the slow chip away. But
mhm,
you're gonna finish that game a hell of a lot faster than swinging with 10 1/1s at a person divided by 3. Instead, you play a crater hoof, and all those 10 10s
yeah.
become, or those 1 1s become 10 10s.
And
Yeah,
someone
so I
might.
mean,
Oh, go ahead.
so yeah, if you like he's saying, if you have like 1,000 snakes, like dude, you better be attacking because the whole point is to progress the game. So either somebody loses or it causes somebody to react to the threat that's happening, and that could cause a change in the board state for the better for the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Know
one
when to
win
go
con.
in.
One win con that I don't have an issue with, and it's a win con that's an extra turns, and it's Zach's Amunatu deck, and it's like the way he gets the extra turns is on theme with his deck. It's Amunatu, it's a blink deck. He has to keep blinking Amunatu and
Deep
Teferi
glow splay.
and Deep Glow Skate. It's like, okay, like you're doing the thing that you're supposed to do. I built Lord Windgrace. The win con in there is to Triumph of the Hordes, but it's also because he cares about lands and putting them from the graveyard. It's like the theme is animating the lands, giving them infect, and killing someone or the table or whatever it is, or the need for speed combo with Titania and making a bunch of 5/3s. It's like it isn't necessarily like the most interesting when you see it happen, maybe to some people, but it's like it's on theme with what the deck is doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of like a interesting way of winning. I don't necessarily love it if someone's like not to like I won't say names, but like we had a friend that played Nath, the discard elf guy, and
Oh yeah.
the way they won was with Torment to Hailfire, but you saw it coming a mile away, and it was like it was always gonna happen the same way. It's like all of a sudden he's searching for a card and grabbing
Nyx Bloom and
Nyx Bloom
Torment.
Ancient into Torment, and it was like that really like you didn't kill us by making us discard. You didn't kill us by with your elves. You killed us with this one spell that really
Well,
didn't have anything
uh,
to do with the deck.
yeah. And to be fair, too, that deck that's like not a normal Nath deck. That's basically his whole plan is to strip us of cards, get rid of our resources, so then we can't respond to him doing this.
Right. which is
like
fine, but
that's
it's
fine.
just kind
He
of
had
like
a game plan. He went in with it every time, and that's fine too.
like every time he tutored, I was like, oh, so you either have Nyx Bloom in your
It's
hand or you
you're
have
going for.
Torment in your
Hey,
hand.
are you going for Nyx Bloom? No. Oh, so he has it in his head. Thoughtseize. I got it, guys. Don't worry. Reanimate. Brody, he had a reanimate head. I can only get one thing. All right.
But yeah,
But yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at with like certain win cons, like, and the ones that just say like you win the game, like the Halo Fountain, like I don't
okay, that's
hate
hoops.
that.
That's
I
hoops,
don't.
though.
Yeah, I mean you have to
You
have
got to
10
have like what
creatures
10
and tap
creatures
them.
that
Yeah,
survive. You have to find a way to tap them, and if you're attacking with them, you have to have a surplus and hope a lot of them survive to then use Halo Fountain, and then
or
hope Halo Fountain doesn't get blown up.
what is like the other ones that just say like and you win the game? Oh, like uh
Thassa's Oracle.
Thoracle is like if you were playing. I mean that's a CEDH card, so it's like that's whatever.
If you bring it to a casual table, you're just that guy. All
I mean
right.
I had it in Orvar because it's a Merfolk Orvar deck, and I took it out because instead of like swarming with Merfolk like you're supposed to and having like 7 Lord of Atlantises that are all pumping each other, I was instead just looking for my Thassa's Oracle win, and I was like, this isn't what I want. Like, it was taking away from the game plan that I wanted with the deck, and so like, but the one like the Revel in Riches, like the treasure one, if you have 10 treasure
Yeah.
as at your upkeep, you win the game. Like, if you do it, like by all means, like it used to be a lot harder to do, but
Oh yeah.
you literally
Nowadays with
could
how
just
much
like
I think my favorite one of those wins is where they had like the bootleggers stash and they had that out. Like they played it. They had flash. They played it. I'm like, oh, this dude just all right. On your end step, I tap 10 lands. Upkeep, I win the game.
I'd be like, okay, that was cool, I
That
guess.
was, but
But once you do it once, it's like, okay, now we're done with that. Like,
yeah,
I
but
I have I don't love the the exquisite blood combo,
I think
but
it's just yeah, I get
I
that
have
too.
it
But
in my life gain deck because it necessarily like it's hard to
it's
win with
the
that deck,
yeah,
and
and
it's on
that's the thing
theme.
too. And here's the thing about those where it's like, hey, I have this theme deck. I have this. I don't really have a way of win, and the way of winning is kind of like it seems CEDH or scummy, but look at the deck. What like what
It's
is your
tree
win?
folk.
Yes, what is your win con in banding? Banding.
uh, to hit people.
Okay, and what are the colors in that?
White.
Oh, it's what? Okay, so I wouldn't be opposed if like you're like you. The way of winning is I like swarm the board and I Armageddon, so people can't like play combat tricks or kill me, and you can kill like that.
I've
This is a
considered
bad
putting
example
Armageddon
because
in
you're
there.
white and you're giving me something to really. You have the Heliod combo. There we go.
No, I don't
I
have the
would.
Heliod combo.
I'm saying because you're in white, I wouldn't be. It's like, hey, you're a banding deck, and you're having your fun, but you don't like. If I can't win through combat, here's my backup option of
All right. Do you want me
Heliod
to
Ballista.
should I explain what the win in that deck is and like why I built it the way I did?
Go ahead. Lay it out. It
Okay.
wasn't just to play banding.
Well, it was to play banding, but the reason I wanted banding is because it's a combat focused mechanic that is causing like blocking and damage like issues for my opponents. It's meant to make you think about how you're attacking and how you're blocking because like with banding, I get to choose how damage is dealt to my creatures. So if I band together with one creature and one that has like protection, like all the protection, all the damage is going to the one with protection, and I'm going to kill your guy. So it's like a deck of minor inconvenience. And so with that, and then there's also the win con. It's not necessarily a win con, but it's like a make someone lose con. It's at the Strixhaven Stadium
Yeah.
because the commander is Odric, and it says if you attack with Odric and 3 other creatures, I can choose how you block. So then I get to choose that you don't block, and I just get to take you out with the Strixhaven Stadium. And like that's one of the win cons. There's also the Gideon who exiles all permanents for -15, but then you just turn it into a creature and attack people. Like it
His,
it
no
it's
one
a
could
very
handle his massive Chad aura.
it's it's a combat focused deck, and I'm creating situations with attacking and blocking where you have to think about it a little bit more than just like moving a creature in front of my other one. You know, kind of it's
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it's
Like,
meant
basically
to.
just go surrender and you're fine.
Yeah, the way I win, it's combat focused, but it's a particular form of combat, and I want to make. Again, I did call it the deck of minor inconvenience because it's just like
minor inconveniences.
I can't chump block because this creature with flanking is going to just kill it outright, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, and I think, yeah, that's the thing where I'm trying to get at. Like, if I don't get upset with, like, people are gonna get upset because of winning, but I feel like people shouldn't get upset because I won through playing a single card and it hit you in the face and I won, compared to like, here's my what are those? The Root Goldberg Machine WinCon deck.
For
But
sure.
I think we're gonna leave it off that because this episode's been going on for quite a bit. Um, yeah, uh, we're getting back in the swing of things. Hopefully, soon here we'll be able to put up some videos or maybe some streams. I know I'll be trying to stream a little bit more consistently. It's kind of hard with my work schedule, but
I would
links will
also
be in the
like to.
description. Yeah, check out our Twitter, our Instagram. We're just starting to get those things up off the ground.
It'd be
Do we
good to
have
get
any?
Dylan in here again too, right?
He's moving.
Yeah,
He's setting up.
he's
Why
buying a
we
house. We'll get him when he
no
can.
no. He bought a house.
Bought a
Don't worry.
house. He's
When
fixing
he's
it.
settled in, he'll come back. It's all good. But yeah, you guys want to say anything before we leave it off?
Any last words?
Cock's gun.
Well, everybody that's listening and watching, we appreciate your patience with our long-winded podcast today. And we look forward to seeing you guys hopefully next week, same time.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
You just heard. You just listened to three grown men bitch and moan about a card part, a game, and the episode.